Words can hurt. Words matter. And when you get called a word that you don't like, it can stay with you for a long time. It could be when you were a kid in the playground and someone said to you, you're a loser. Might have been when you're at work and as an adult, someone says you're an idiot or a moron. And if you live with a disability, you've probably heard quite a few words that don't sit right with you. In fact, 1 in 2 people have used an offensive term to describe a person with a disability. At any time of the year, it's good to have a conversation about respectful language, perhaps even more so in the midst of the Paralympics, where quite literally we are putting people with disabilities on pedestals. And it's really best to ask people with a disability what their preferred language is. Bianca Wells is here this morning. She lives with Tourette Syndrome. She's been on the receiving end of offensive language for quite some time. Morning, Bianca.
Hello, how are you?
Really well, thank you for being here. And River Knight is the co-founder of Developing Australian Communities. Morning, River.
Hi, thanks for having us.
1 in 2 people, River, have used an offensive term to describe a person with a disability. Is the situation getting better? Are we becoming more sort of aware and respectful?
I think so. So the research that Developing Australian Communities just did, we found that probably about 3/4 of the Generation Zs, the younger ones coming through the school system, actually said that they were actually fairly comfortable about how to talk about disability. Maybe that's because we've had a change in our education system. Things are a little bit more inclusive. But as people got older, we found that about 18% of people were reporting being just completely clueless on how to talk about disability comfortably, and whether they were confident of what words they should say.
Okay, well, we'll get to some of the progression in terms of language. Bianca, for you, how do you prefer to be described or introduced when it comes to Tourette's?
Just, hey, I'm Bianca and I have Tourette Syndrome. Pretty much just like that. Yeah.
Not more complicated than that, because
No.
sometimes there's a discussion around whether it's has a particular syndrome, lives with, or how connected do you feel to that syndrome or condition? Do you have preferences over those words?
I don't believe my Tourette Syndrome defines me, but I believe, it's just me. And I'm proud to be me at the moment, yeah.
Yeah. You have been on the receiving end over the years of people who haven't been particularly smart about the words that they've chosen.
Escape mental patient, psychopath, things like that. Yeah, it's pretty hurtful, but I'm just trying to educate and make awareness for people like me and other people with disabilities, because it's such an important thing to be able to say the right thing so it doesn't hurt someone's feelings.
In what circumstance have you heard that language like that?
Walking down my shopping centre, out in public, when I go out at night with my girlfriends, like, people just don't get it. And they think, swearing, because comedians, movies portray the swearing side Tourette's and everyone thinks it's funny. I get laughed at, it must be cool to be able to swear all the time, but not really.
No. How do you react when you hear hurtful comments like that?
Well, I used to get a bit upset, but I'm trying to be a advocate and a person to be there for people with Tourette's. So I don't let it hurt them anymore, because at the end of the day, there's no point of letting it affect me because of people that are inconsiderate and don't understand. So, but yeah.
And you're even going above and beyond having to front up for a radio interview to talk about it, though, which hopefully will educate all of us. Bianca lives with Tourette Syndrome, and River Knight's here as well, the co-founder of Developing Australian Communities. River, is it possible to even say, this is the correct language for people with disabilities, or is it about asking the individual person how they want to be described?
We find there's a bit of a mix. So what we try to do is start with the person first. So we tend to say a person with as opposed to a disabled person. We try to talk about a person who uses a wheelchair rather than wheelchair bound. So we start with that person first. But even within the disability sector, it's different, and people have different preferences. So someone that might say, I'm not a person with autism. I don't carry autism in a backpack. And then someone else might say, you know what, I actually like being called autistic, and that's their preference. So we just say, look, start with that person, ask them what they want, but make sure the conversations time's appropriate, because every time we see someone with a disability, we don't want Australians now in the next 2 weeks to go and approach them in every shopping centre and ask them how they're feeling.
Sure, yeah. And I mean, even the fact that we're having a conversation about, well, how should we describe as if it's this certain subset of people? I mean, perhaps lots of, able-bodied or whatever people, you don't necessarily go up and say to them, how would you like to be described?
And I had a great experience recently with a friend of mine who uses a large wheelchair that's chin-controlled, so he doesn't have a lot of movement in his arms and legs. Really large wheelchair. I had a nice lady come up to me and said, "Oh, you're a beautiful person for letting this man come and have lunch, and it was so good what you're doing." And she ignored him. And she said, "Can he talk?" And I looked at him and went, "I don't know." I said, "Can you talk?" And he said, "Oh, nah, mate, nah, just tell her I can't talk." And I said, "No, he says he can't talk." And she kind of looked at me and went, "What?" And he said, "What are you calling him beautiful for? He's not beautiful." And she kind of laughed and started talking to him. And I stepped back a little bit. And after a little while, I let them just have the conversation. And it stopped being about disability. It stopped being awkward. And she just realised she was just talking to a person. Yeah. And that's where we want to get to.
Which is incredibly generous of your friend, but there's got to be a fatigue factor there too.
Oh, yeah.
Like if that happens over and over again.
It is.
And from conversations I've had previously with people, the idea of someone coming up to someone and congratulating them for being out and about in such a patronising way is just exhausting.
And that We the 15 movement that's popped out of it's got a lot of attention with the Paralympics has been great.
Yeah.
Because their video, their promotion is about saying, look, we're not always your inspiration.
Sure.
We're actually just an average person that has a mortgage.
The We the 15 campaign, is brilliant, and it kind of springboards a bit off the Superhumans campaign. I was talking to Tony D, who sang that, the theme song for that one. In fact, I've got a minute or so of the We the 15 campaign I'll play in a moment. Bianca, conversations like this do get elevated at times like the Paralympics. Is this a good opportunity to talk about respectful language?
I think it's a great, it's great time to talk about it.
What do you think of the word normal?
I don't believe anyone is normal at the end of the day. I'm glad the world's all different, because if everyone was normal and the same, it'd be a very boring world.
True. That's extremely well put. Bianca Wells, who has Tourette Syndrome, and River Knight, the co-founder of Developing Australian Communities, with you this morning on ABC Radio Brisbane, and my name's Rebecca Livingston. River, is there a particular resource as such that people could go to explore a little bit more around respectful language?
There was a wonderful publication put out more than 10 years ago called Way with Words. Mm-hmm. It was released around Australia, and it's now, you can find it Googling it, it'll pop up on a lot of websites, and it just talks about how to talk about people first. It's been around for a long time, but we're still working with the media, working with TV to just explain that we need to stop using some of those sensational words like wheelchair bound when we're talking about someone who uses a wheelchair. So there's some great publications there. The best resource that we have is just looking around your social circle and finding those people, because we've got half of people over 65 living with a disability. We've got 15% of our world's population with a disability, so everyone around them will be able to find someone in their family social circle to talk to and actually see, how would I like to have that person in my social circle treated? How would I like to talk to them? Or ask them that question.
Ask them that question. Thank you for taking my questions this morning, Bianca and River. Great to have you both here.
Welcome.
Thanks so much. Bianca Wells. And River mentioned there the We the 15 campaign. It is worth looking this ad up online. Just do a search for We the 15. The 15 represents the 15% of people globally that it's estimated have a disability. And it's such an honest and hard-hitting, but also humorous message to the world about life with a disability. Here's a little of the campaign.
You're such an inspiration.
So brave.
You remind me to be happy.
I love that you don't let it get you down.
Good for you.
It breaks my heart.
Look at you out and about.
You push us all to do better.
You are superheroes.
Really?
Yeah, we're superheroes, all right.
We're getting the kids out the door on time.
We push strollers.
Io sono il passeggino.
Be grateful.
But there's nothing special about us.
We have mortgages.
Kill houseplants.
Watch reality TV.
Pretend we're watching reality TV.
We're destined with duvets.
Get sunburn on holiday.
We're politicians and lobsters.
We pray 5 times a day.
And no, I'm not praying for a cure.
I'm praying for a new handbag.
We swipe right.
We go on first dates.
And get lucky too.
So are the pedestals are nice?
And the pity tolerated.
We're not special. That's not what it's like.
Non è la nostra realtà.
And only when you see us.
Wonderfully ordinary.
Wonderfully human.
Only then
Can we all break down these barriers
That keep us apart.
That's just a